Hello, and welcome to the Community IT Innovators Technology Topics Podcast, where we discuss nonprofit technology, cybersecurity, tech project implementation, strategic planning, and nonprofit IT careers. Find us at communityit.com.
Yeah, once you get to that point where there are hundreds of staff, it sounds like it was really important and valuable to have that point of contact be the
Yes,
contact for the
absolutely.
organization.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to the Community IT Technology Topics Podcast. I'm your host, Carolyn Woodard, and I'm here today with David Dawson, who's going to tell us a little bit more about incident response. So, David, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm David. I've been with Community IT for more than 20 years now. I work on the team taking escalated service requests.
Can you just walk me through the summary that you gave me before of how the incident unfolded? You said there was someone at the nonprofit who clicked on a phishing email and it went from there. So what?
Yes. The first person who somebody fell for a phishing email, and we all get these things, and in this case it was very convincing, and so she clicked on an email which sent her to a sign-in screen that was legitimate, looked legitimate, but as soon as she signed into it to read this document, her credentials were compromised. The attacker immediately logged into her email and sent out hundreds of messages as well. And again, very convincing, looked like emails that would be sent from this person. This person does email a lot of people in the organization, and it's just very routine kind of an email. And unfortunately, a lot of people fell for it also because it looked very convincing.
And then you said some of the emails went out to external.
Yes, internal and external. We were able to, look at how many were sent out, and it was close to 1,000.
Wow. Just in the first minute or two after she clicked
very
on it.
quickly. And this particular issue was a security incident for one of our clients that has a couple of hundred staff. We got notified about this issue because we had a lot of their staff call us to report the problem. So a lot of people were calling our help desk saying that they were getting these phishing emails from their colleague, and we were responding to them one by one on our help desk by helping people reset their passwords, look at their MFA methods, and some people had already compromised their account, and some people were just reporting problems. But our help desk was really able to sort of absorb the flood of phone calls from them. And then my supervisor asked me to sort of take the lead on it, quickly centralize sort of the effort rather than having each individual help desk person responding. Obviously, that was really helpful to have our help desk because I couldn't call all these people myself. But the flood of calls dampened down after the initial warning, initial alerts. So I looked at it, and we were able to respond pretty quickly. I was working with the technical person, the person at this organization that was responsible for the technical work. And between me and her, we were able to draw a circle around the damage that had been done, remediate the problems by resetting passwords, and then I think really crucially, have confidence that we had resolved the problem. She wanted to know that the accounts, all the accounts that have been compromised have now been, how many accounts have been compromised and have we fully recovered? And we were able to have some confidence around that.
So you started getting this flood of calls into our help desk, and because the help desk works together, they realized that they were all getting these calls from the same client, and it was the same issue.
Exactly.
And you said at that point they decided to escalate it to you.
Exactly. Yeah, and she was aware of the. By the time I talked to our point of contact at this organization, she was already aware of the problem. and she had sent out an email, a follow-up email. The person whose account was initially compromised, they um, responded by the password was changed, the credentials were changed. We locked out the person who was attacking her account, and then they found the message in the sent messages folder, and they ended up deleting it, which was actually in this case unfortunate, but that's a different part of the story. But then they sent out a subsequent email immediately saying, please don't open the previous email that I sent because it is fraudulent. And they sent it. I'm not sure who they sent it to, internally only or externally as well.
Mm-hmm. And then the kind of tech point of contact also send out an email to all staff.
Yes, saying that they were on it. And they also asked me, don't respond to individual people anymore. It's just, causing a flood of emails and a lot of confusion. Please communicate just with me.
Uh-huh.
So it was great for me as a technician, just to not have like 20 people that I need to check in with and confirm that they're comfortable, or that they had all their questions answered. It was really helpful for me to have somebody internally who's able to do all that communication and allow me to do just the security investigation.
And so
So,
how does that security investigation unfold? You said that immediately you knew who the initially compromised account was.
yep.
You were able to change their password, lock out the attacker. But then what did you do after that?
Yeah, so that was kind of the fun part. We were able to just find the malicious actor. We ended up using sign-in logs in Microsoft 365, using the sign-in logs and the mail logs to see where all these messages were coming from, and we're able to narrow it down to just one IP address. And so then we're able to identify the person by this IP address and look at all the activity from there. Using that, we were able to see um, how many how many people's accounts were also being signed into from that IP address, and that's when we knew whose accounts were compromised. That's how we were able to draw a circle around that.
Uh-huh. And so, from the point of view of the staff at this nonprofit, they got the bad email to begin with. Then they got a follow-up email. Don't click on that. And then they got an email from the point of contact saying, we're working with our MSP, we're resolving the issue. Go about your business. You can use email, etc.
Yep. Yep.
So from their point of view, this seems like it was handled relatively quickly. But I
Yes.
imagine from you and the point of contact's point of view, there were more tasks that had to be done. So what did you do after that initial problem had been cleaned up?
Yeah, that was really complicated. We had to sort of get to a point of confidence, and it was working with her. It was really helpful. This organization has a lot of people who, like a lot of our organizations, they're like remote first kind of an organization. So we're looking at the sign-in logs, and I don't know, like if this person lives in California, or is that a not legitimate sign-in? I don't know if this person's signing in from Florida. Is this legitimate or not? So that was important that she was able to determine that. She was looking at it, very quickly with me. And even before I asked the question, she said, okay, this looks good. This is right. This is right. That person is there. That was really helpful. Otherwise, I would have had to chase down every single one of them. So I did a little summary. So I ended up just pulling a lot of reports, and I think this is really illustrates how important it was to work with somebody inside the organization for so many reasons. I was able to pull reports for her with all the maybe for me look like suspicious sign-ins over the last day, or since this incident began. And she was able to say, yeah, we can dismiss the concern, but with most of these, the only one. And so we really, really were able to determine, like, yes, it's just this one IP address from this one city, this one state. This is where all the malicious activity is going from.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't that common because, if somebody is working, if somebody's attacking from one IP address, they can very easily switch to another IP address and pivot. So it was very important to, pull report after report, and she was able to look at these and say, yeah, this looks okay.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. you had two essential questions: how much damage had been done and whether it was ended, whether the recovery was complete.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
did you go about talking about those two aspects?
It's all the logs in Microsoft 365. There's and there's a lot of different kinds of logs. There's sign-in logs that show where people are coming from.
Mm-hmm.
There's activity logs, audit
Mm-hmm.
logs, which show what is being done, what
Mm-hmm.
are SharePoint files being deleted or links being created to sensitive areas,
Mm-hmm.
permissions changing, emails being sent out. So we're able to review all of that as well to see that there is no more malicious activity going on. And then we're able to look at even something as specific as multi-factor authentication devices. If somebody's password is compromised, very often these attackers will immediately, add their own phone as a
Mm.
multi-factor authentication. So even if you kick them out, even if you change their passwords, they can find some way to reset the password later to get back in. So we pulled all these kinds of identification information, sign-in information, activity information, and analyzed it. But it's really by IP address that was helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were able to determine that there's very little malicious activity except for this email blast. And for each individual person, we're able to determine that we've removed all of the recently added MFA devices, we've reset passwords, and we knew that specific people who were impacted. And fortunately in our case, it turned out to be less than 10 people. So responding with you know uh, person by person response was not completely difficult.
Yeah. And I would think that that is a plug for security awareness training. So you said there were hundreds of staff, but most of them knew not to click on it.
Yes, and I will say, yeah, that's I wanted to bring that up at some point too. I had the great, really great conversations with our point of contact, and and I said, yeah, let's talk about all the things that we could have in place to prevent this in the next time. And she said, okay, yeah, that's a great idea. So we can do some review. And but we already do a security awareness training. So I think our staff is very aware of how not to fall for these kinds of things.
Uh-huh. And that's a great opportunity to give your staff like the kudos.
Exactly.
Good job. Security training is working. It's worth taking those little quizzes or responding to watching the videos that, we recommend. So that's good to hear. Of course, we always talk about not doing security training in a way that shames anyone. I mean, anyone can fall for it. And like you said, it was very convincing. And with AI, it's getting more and more convincing. So I think also like that second part of the security awareness training of if everybody, it's very possible that you will click on something that you shouldn't click on. What do you do next? Who do you tell and tell them right away, right?
It's great too that you bring that up too, that the non-shaming part. We ended up having a great conversation about it all it takes is a convincing email, and you're tired and you've been making decisions all day long, and it's very easy to click on something, and it comes in email, but it also comes all over the place too. She was
Yeah.
telling me about selling something on Facebook, and it was a very convoluted um, thing that she fell for, and she still thinks about it 10 years later.
Yeah. Yeah. Just the different scams that are out there
Yep,
on our different devices and tools that we use.
yep.
So then you were able to, you said you printed out a whole bunch of reports showing that of those 10 or so accounts that were compromised, logins, their password had been changed. And did you have to have them reset up their MFA for all those accounts?
Yes, we often do for just sort of a matter of course.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, I don't think in this particular case we found any MFA devices had been added, but we were able to scrutinize that and just confirm
Mm-hmm.
that there were no other MFA devices.
So then she could have a lot of confidence that the incident was over.
Yes,
And you could too. As the MSP,
absolutely.
cybersecurity provider, we want to know the bad guys are kicked out.
Absolutely. I think using our processes that we've been developing over years, that's where we really want to get to. Like, how do we? I mean, we've done the work and we know that this is the result.
Yeah.
We've kicked out the malicious actors, and we've locked the door so they can't get back in.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what they've done while they were inside.
Yeah, those are all just super important to have. And then it seems like you added on another step of how do we use this incident as a learning, teaching moment to maybe put some more safeguards in place for that organization to prevent something like this from happening again, knowing that cybersecurity risks are always evolving. So it may not be this exact one next time, but we hope if this exact one comes in, that we'll know, we'll have a good response to it.
Yeah. That's always the question about, what else could we have done.
Yeah.
And I think in this case, I'm very glad to say that they had everything in place to be able to respond very quickly. What can you do better? There's always something else. There's always something else. And so we set up additional notifications. So we would have gotten a notification, but honestly, they were calling us just as fast as we would have seen the notification anyway.
And that's another plug for the cybersecurity awareness training.
Yes. And I'm really glad that they knew to call us right away. They knew what to do. They had our number handy, and the calls came flooding in. So I think actually that was a good thing.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where, well, it seems like a negative that someone fell for this, but actually it's a very positive thing that the training worked and that we as an MSP were able also to like our techniques and tools and methods could work. I guess I want to put in like a final plug for having an incident response plan. I don't know at this client how whether they were relying mostly on the security awareness training, or if they did have this security, an incident response plan to fall back on. But we have a lot of resources on our site to create an incident response plan if you don't have one. If you have one, but it's just sitting somewhere in a file and you haven't reviewed it in the past year, we would recommend to review those annually because, as you're saying, David, like there are new threats that are coming in, new incidents that you're responding to. So you want to make sure that that incident response plan is an evolving, living document that your executive team has eyes on. And you just, go over and think about it. There's another plug I can give for the webinar that we just did on the tabletop cybersecurity exercises where you can actually take that incident response plan out and run through some scenarios with the stakeholders and see, well, in this case, we're supposed to call this person. What if they're on vacation? Who else would we call? So that's a good document to have for a lot of cybersecurity insurance, liability insurance. You're going to need to have an incident response plan policy. So as part of your policy. So we do have a lot of resources on our site about how to get that going if you don't have one. But it sounds like this client, like knowing what to do in the emergency is really just gets you that one step closer to fixing it faster than trying to search down like, oh, who are we supposed to call and what are we supposed to do?
I think maybe for me, just a couple more things too. It was really great working with somebody who's able to ask all the questions, and I was able to provide it from a technical perspective. So I think that actually having two heads there was very important. She asked a lot of questions that I would not have thought of asking, and when I provided those to her, she got a lot of confidence, and then I got more confidence because she's providing that communication back, that she's talking to her staff, and that they are confident as well. I think that's good. And then as far as the incident response plan, or any kind of a security plan, there's I think there's maybe paralysis because people want like sort of the best one or the perfect one. And then, there's always good, better and best. And, there's always something else that you could be doing. Things are changing all the time as well. Having something in place, having someone who's able to communicate risks and have questions in plain English is really helpful because, we love to do the technical, translating that into technical plans as well. So I think having that communication with us, this is exactly what we like to talk about as well. We love it when people are asking these questions because we want to have that conversation.
Yeah, and I would say we talk a lot about you do not have to be a technical person with a strong technical background to manage nonprofit IT. Someone at your nonprofit needs to own IT, and that person, if they don't have a technical background, it's you need to ask those questions and ask them in plain language, and your MSP or IT provider or your IT director, whoever it is, should be able to translate and provide the reports and talk about them in a way that your questions get answered. And if they aren't answered, or you don't understand something, or you're not sure that the incident is completely closed, just keep asking those questions until you get the answers that you need to have and to be able to understand for sure.
Exactly.
Hmm. Well, I have one more question, which is in this case, it was emails. And so it was, there was the potential for the people who externally received those emails also to have had their accounts compromised by opening that document and clicking on the link in the document. And it was very convincing, as you said. But sometimes an incident could be, there was a data breach. Somebody got some of your files, or once they were able to log into your systems, they changed some of the passwords and gave themselves access to like your HR files or your financial files, those sorts of things, or data on your constituents, or your donors. So how important is it? I know you're the technical side of responding to an incident, but it seems like that also needs to be covered in your response plan. Like if you have a data breach, what is your policy going to be for, letting people know that their data was compromised, or that the email that they received was fraudulent? So it seems like that also just needs to be covered in your policy.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to consider that unfortunate fact. I imagine cyber insurance processes, they would maybe cover any damages there,
Yeah.
or at the very least, they would be able to provide some sort of a roadmap for how to consider what to do in that case.
Yeah. And I think, we've talked on other webinars and podcasts about you should be pretty familiar with that policy, and your
Mhm.
insurer is going to have a lot of resources too, such as when to talk to the FBI, when to, follow up when you have to report something. And also they just have resources on how to resolve the incident also. So you can check in with them about those next steps also. So all good information. Thank you
Yep.
so much, David, for sharing this incident with us without naming names.
Yep.
And I think that it's just so helpful to hear from peers about, what happens when something like this happens. And I love that you gave us the flow of like, well, we did this first, then we did this, then we were able to create these reports. So, I'm sure that it was very helpful to your point of contact to have you on the other end of the phone too, being reassuring and finding out what you could quickly and handling the incident from our end. So thank you so much for sharing this with us today.
You're very welcome.
Community IT does these free webinars and podcasts for our community, and we love sharing our knowledge and experience. If you have more questions or are having trouble with your IT at your nonprofit, please get in touch with us on our website, www.communityit.com, so we can start a conversation or schedule an assessment. Downloading any of our free resources there will get you signed up for our webinar reminders, and you can attend our next webinar in real time and ask our experts your own questions. If you love podcasts, please subscribe and leave us a rating to help others find this leadership resource for nonprofits.